Good morning. Hello. Happy Monday. I know lots of you had first day of schools today. First day of school or schools. I don't know what I'm saying, but I know a lot of you had kids that went to school today for the first day, which is always an exciting time and also sad at the same time. I know for me, every year I get very emotional because it's like they're getting so big and it's just hard because childhood flies by. And so anyway, I hope your child has a great first day of school today and enjoys it and comes home with lots of great stories for you. I wanted to talk today about sports. I know it's kind of a random topic, but the reason why is because I know sports seasons are starting and a lot of our kids are starting to ask to do certain activities. Maybe it's dance or gymnastics or soccer or basketball, whatever it is that they're asking to do. It's simple, but also takes a lot of thought, right? In preparation and decision-making and working together with your spouse. So I wanted to kind of go over the pros and cons of sports. And I guess you could tie it into other extracurricular stuff too, but I chose sports just because it seems to be the most common. And I thought I would start with that. But when you're thinking about doing sports with your kids, do you put a lot of thought into it? Is it something you're just like automatic? It's just something we do every year? Are you a younger parent and just have a child and trying to decide if sports is something that your child will want to do? What are the thoughts you have in regards to sports? Or have you even thought about it? Has this even been a thought for you? Like, why would they do sports? Or of course they would do sports. So it's something to think about and just kind of just start reflecting on. And I guess that's what the point of this today is for you to reflect on what your kids are doing, not just in school, but after school. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you because you know me, I love my little PowerPoints. It helps me. Guess because I'm new at this and it just helps me feel more comfortable. Even though I know what I'm going to say, like I feel like I have to be able to see it. And I would like you guys to see it too. Okay, so why would you do sports? Why would you not do sports? What are the pros? What are the cons? And we're going to kind of go over some general ones. But I also want you to think about your pros and cons in your family of why things would be great for sports or why it might not be so great for sports. Okay. Okay, so why sports? Well, there's strength. Kids get strong, right? Mentally and physically. It takes a lot to do sports. It's a lot of time commitment, physical endurance, mental endurance. You're going to have someone that's on you, run faster, go faster, make that shot, whatever it is. So it takes a lot of strength, both mentally and physically. It's great for health. It's going to get that heart rate up. It's going to help keep obesity down. It's going to help them just feel good about their bodies because they're moving them. And we all need to be moving our body. Oh, this is my cat. This is Astra. Let's say hi to her. She comes up every once in a while. So yeah, it's great for physical health. It also increases confidence. So if you played sports as a kid, you know this, right? You know all of these. It increases your confidence. It makes you feel good about yourself. You made that goal. You shot that ball into the hoop. Or maybe you didn't, but you had faster pace in the game or whatever it is. It just helps increase confidence because there's tons of times for reinforcement and praise and all of that. It improves your mental health. It also helps with better sleep. If your kids are doing sports, they're going to be tired at night. They're going to be exhausted because they're going to be at school all day and then they might have a practice after school. So it's going to help them sleep better. It also helps with gross motor improvement. If you have a kid that was like delayed a little bit with their motor skills, this is a great way to help them improve it and also keep them at average with everybody else. So it just improves that. Even if they're already at average, it's going to put them above. So there's a lot of really, really good reasons for sports. Another one that is not on here, and I don't know why I didn't put it on here, but just thinking about it, is it keeps them off of technology, which you could be thinking that now too. If they're out at a practice or a game, they are not on their iPad or computer, which is always a good thing because it keeps them with other kids, keeps them busy. So that's another one for why sports, no technology. All right, so now you're probably wondering, does she have any, why you would not want to do sports, right? So why would you not want to do sports? These seem all like perfect. This is something that we all want to do. I'm going to go sign my kid up now, right? But there's reasons you might not want to do sports in your family. And that's totally fine, right? Both ways are fine. So it could be very stressful. right? So you might have a child that's very sensitive, that does not like high pressure, does not like being, not the kids, coaches are yelling, but just like very directive. You might have a kid that really stresses out, can create eating disorders. So where you do have your healthiness, if you're in a sport that requires you to be a certain weight, like wrestling or gymnastics, it could create an eating disorder because the kids become very aware of their bodies at a young age, which is both good and bad, right? It's good to be aware of what you're eating, but then it's also, it's a very fine line. It can be expensive, right? You need to know what you're getting into because the sport itself can be expensive. If it's something like dance, well, dance isn't sport, but it kind of is. We'll go with dance. All those costumes are expensive, or gymnastics, that stuff can be expensive. You also have to think about what the expense, maybe they'll need physical therapy. That's another expense you have to add into it. It's time consuming for both you and your child. It's a lot of time for you sitting in a car waiting and hanging out, looking at your phone, just chilling, maybe reading a book. It's also time consuming for them. It is going to take up their time and will keep them busy. You can also have some injuries at a very young age. You could be very young and you could hurt your knee. You could have a head injury. Then you can get into unhealthy competition. Depending on how your family looks at it, it can become unhealthy to be that competitive at times. And that gets kind of into the mental health piece. So those are some of the reasons why you might not want to do sports. So now, as I've gone over both of why and why not, I want you to think about where you stand as a parent on this topic, right? As you reflect on, do I really want to get my child involved in sports? Something to think about. Not going to be world changing, but it is definitely something to think about for your family. All right, so it's definitely a personal family choice. So it's something that every family individually has to think about what works best for them. Now, I think to start with, if you've followed me at all, you know I always get into knowing your values and your beliefs. So this is why it's really important to know who you are as a parent, because you need to know your clear values and beliefs as a parent in regards to what your kids are doing. Because if you don't, they will manipulate the situation. They will talk you in of something, talk you out of something. So you need to know exactly where you stand on things before you start. And I'll give you an example of this. So say your child really, really wants to do basketball and they keep asking you, and you don't really care either way. You're like, if they want to do it, that's great. If not, I don't care either. So if that's something they're interested in, sure, let's sign up for basketball. Well, they get there and they're doing the first practice and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, so here's where you knowing your family beliefs and your values come into play. Did you have a conversation of, if we sign up for this, we're going to do the entire season? Or you just have to go to one game to see if it's something or one practice, see if it's something you like, and then we'll make a decision. What was the pre-communication prior to going to this practice or first time, right? So making sure you have those conversations and knowing your values and beliefs. So say you had that conversation, all right, we're going to sign up for basketball. And because we signed up for it, we're going to do the entire season. We're going to do the whole season. If you don't like it, we won't do it again, but you will have to go to the whole season. Are you okay with that? And so having that conversation. And then, you've already set that boundary. You've been assertive about it. You know what your beliefs are about this topic. So there's no argument. It is what it is. You finish the season. If they hate it, you never do it again. It's a great learning experience. Throughout that season, you have lots of discussions about the good things and the bad things. And you would be surprised, right? They're going to learn a lot in this, even if they don't like it, and they might end up loving it, right? We don't know because they haven't done it before. So be very clear on what you believe and what you think before you start a sport. The other thing is, what are your thoughts on, so say your child decides to do wrestling. Now, I know even at a young age with these kids that are doing wrestling, they have to be at certain weights to go into certain categories. What are your thoughts about that? How are you going to handle that when your coach comes up to you and says your child needs to be under this weight for the next match? What are you going to think about that? Are you going to say, well, just move them up to the next level? Are you going to say, okay, we'll make sure that we keep them under that weight? What are your thoughts? So before you start a sport or an activity, do some research, do some reading about it, talk to friends, talk to other people you know in that type of a community about what would work for you. Also, What are your thoughts on traveling? What if this thing you sign up for has you traveling to different places on the weekends? Do you want to do that? Is that something you're interested in? Right? So those are all things you need to know before you start. Because that's going to be your thought, your belief, your value. You're the one, you're the parent. Okay. The next big thing is knowing what your child wants to do. So when your child gets involved in an extracurricular activity, it has to be something they really want to do. If you try to make them feel guilty or try to push it on because that's something you do, or you're the coach, or you're the person that is directing whatever, and your child doesn't want to do it, that's okay. That is okay. Or maybe they do want to do it, but you need to really talk about what your child and know your child, because here again, and we've talked about this in other sessions I've done, that their brains are still developing. So they don't even know 100% what they want to do. So you have to know your child. You know if they're going to be completely stressed out doing, look at my cat. You know they're going to be, if you know your child and you know that high pressure sport is not going to be good for their anxiety because they get super anxious, they don't sleep at night, they don't eat, then you wouldn't encourage that, right? So what does your child want to do? How well do you know your child? You really need to know what you think works best for them. And then the communication piece. Whenever you do decide that a sport is something you will do or not do, there needs to be lots of communication in lots of sports. I'm enjoying my cat here. I'm going to move him down because it's distracting me. There needs to be lots of communication and processing and talking about what this will look like as a family, right? Because you're going to involve, when you start something like a sport or an extracurricular activity, it's time, right? We talked about at the beginning, it's a lot of time. So talking about who's going to do the driving, who is going to make sure everybody has water, who's going to get them dressed before, who's going to pick them up, who's going to be able to be there on Saturday at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. Are we going to be able to drive to that other game that's 2 hours away? So those are communication you might have with your spouse or your partner, but you also need to have the communication with your child, right? So if we sign up for soccer, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have school every day. And then on one day a week from 5 to 6, you will have practice for soccer. So what you would do is you go to school, you'd come home, you'd get your homework done. We would then have to get dressed, have a snack, eat dinner, whatever it is. And then you go to soccer for an hour. And then you come home and there's no TV tonight because we have to take a shower, get ready for bed. So those communication techniques and strategies, all those conversations need to take place prior to signing up for the sport. And then it just continues, right? Because little kids, they don't remember. Here again, their brains aren't fully developed, so they're not going to remember all that. So maybe have a chart. This is what it looks like on soccer nights. There's no TV on soccer nights. There's no iPad, no Roblox. We don't have time to do that on the soccer nights. We're busy. Or on the dance nights, or on the gymnastic nights. This is what it looks like. It looks different than a regular night. Tonight, your dad's picking you up. Tomorrow, I am. So communicating all the things. And the biggest reason that you want to do this communication and really have these going both ways with your kids and your spouses, because it relieves anxiety. Not knowing who's picking you up. You know somebody will, but you don't know who it is. Or not knowing who's going to be home after school to help you get dressed. Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but it's like this question in the kid's mind. They're not sure, right? So it alleviates anxiety. Even if your child doesn't have an anxiety issue, knowing what's going to happen just helps everyone. It'll help your spouse. It'll help you. So really keeping that schedule, that's something else I've talked about a lot, is knowing that schedule, but communication with everyone in the house about what this sport would look like if you started and how it would look from start all the way to finish. All right, so what are the expectations, which I kind of went over a second ago. What do you expect to happen if you sign up for the sport? Do you expect them to do the entire season? If they sign up, they cannot quit. Can they go to one class or practice, see how it is, see if they like it, and then they can quit? Can they go to 3 and then quit? What is your expectation for it? Do you watch a couple YouTube videos about what that looks like? Which that's one of the really cool things right now, having kids in this time, is that you can find all kinds of videos and show your child that before, right? So here's an example. Hey, mom, I think I want to do golf. I want to play golf. Okay. All right, cool. Let's look and see. Let me look and find some stuff on golf, and we can sit down and look at what it looks like for a 8-year-old that plays golf. So then not with your child, you do all the stuff prior, right? So you look it up, you find a really good video on what golf practice looks like for an 8-year-old. You'll find a video on it. You could do this with anything, basketball, soccer, and then they can kind of see what it looks like. So that's something you could do prior. So what are your expectations for them as they start this sport? What are your expectations for your partner or your spouse? Do you expect them to participate? Do you expect them to not have to go with you to the games or the practices? Like, what are your expectations? Now, this helps the family system, right? This helps everybody relieve the anxiety. If you know the expectations already, then you don't care if your husband or wife is there. That's cool. But if you want them to be there and they don't think they're supposed to be there, that's going to cause an argument. So setting all that up before. So then we went over all of this. What are the pros and cons for your family? So I went over my pros and cons at the beginning. I gave you guys a list of the ones that I came up with. You can do this for your family, right? So you can take a piece of paper, put down the middle, pros of starting, cons of starting, whatever it is, and then go through and write it down. And then take that and talk about it with your spouse or partner if you have one. If not, that's for you. Then you sit down with your child, have them maybe come up with a pros and cons list, and then talk about it together with what it would look like. Now, if you have a 3-4-year-old, a lot of times sports will start that little. Clearly, you're not going to have them write their pros and cons. This is pretty much going to be you doing that, and you knowing your child and knowing if they are capable of handling this sport at a young age, or dance, or whatever it is. So what are your pros and cons for your family? And then your child. And we've talked about this, kind of just went over it all. What is your child like? Get to know your child. This is all about them. This isn't about you. And I think that's hard for us because it becomes about us a little bit, because you make friends, right? You'll make friends on the field. You make friends at the practices. Even me, I noticed that what your child does, you spend so much time with them at this extracurricular, you become friends with the parents. So it becomes about you a little bit. But really, this is all about your child. So if they do it one season and they decide they don't want to do it anymore, that's what they don't want to do. So if you have a friend or friends, you're going to have to figure out another time to get with them. But this is about your child. So get to know them. Do they really like it? Have those conversations after practices. Do they not like it? What are the nonverbals telling you? Do they seem stressed out? Do they seem like this is really tough on them? Is there a lot of crying? Is there a lot of frustration and anger coming out of after the practices? Ask them. Ask them questions about it? Like, do you like this? Do you not like this? What do you like about your coach? What do you like about your teammates? What's hard for you? What do you wish was different? What would make you like it better? What can I do to help you? Those are awesome questions you can ask them. And then listen. Really listen to what they're saying. I don't like it because the coach is always putting me in this position. And then reflecting, oh, you don't like it because you're in that position. You wish you would be in a different position playing. I don't like how the kids make fun of me because I can't make a basket. Oh, you don't like it because they're saying things that aren't very nice to you because you're not making it in the basket. That must be really hard. I don't like that I'm slower than everybody else. I feel like I'm always behind everyone when we're running. Oh, wow, you don't run as fast as the other kids. You don't like that. So listen to what they say. Listen to the positives too. Like, I love soccer. It's so much fun. I can't wait to get home and practice this weekend. Oh, you want to practice this weekend? You really enjoy soccer. You're having a really good time with that. Mom, will you go outside and practice with me? No, I don't really love soccer. I'll be really honest with you, but I get that question. And so I will do it. Not for long periods of time, but I will indulge in some time with the soccer. So really listen to what they want, what they're asking, what they're telling you. You are the parent in all of this. So you are the ultimate decision maker. If you find this is not safe, not fun, causing a lot of stress for your family, you get to make the decision to end it ultimately, right? Also, you are the parent that if they make a commitment, you stick to it. You're the person that is going to have to say, nope, we're sticking with it. We're going to keep going. We talked about this prior to signing up, and you're going to have to stay in soccer, basketball, gymnastics till the end of the season. I have a calendar you can look at so we can look to see how much longer it is. But once it's over, you don't have to go anymore. So remember, you are the parent. You get to make the final decisions. You also have to keep everybody accountable for what they say they're going to do from all that pre-stuff you did at the beginning. Make sense? So yeah, so just get to know your child, ask them questions, listen to them, but you're the parent ultimately, and you have to make sure you hold the standard to what you said at the very beginning. And that's why you have to know your values and beliefs before you start. So what you could do after this, after you're done watching, is maybe sit down and journal a little bit about your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts? If you have a little kid, maybe you have a baby. You're like, well, I never thought about this. My kid's only a year old. Well, they're going to be 3 and 4 before you know it. So maybe it's something to think about now. Or maybe you have multiple kids. Maybe one kid, this is perfect for them, but then the other kid, there's no way they're going to play soccer or football or basketball or whatever it is. And the other thing I didn't even get into is childcare. What if you have 3 or 4 kids? What are you going to do with the other kids while that person's playing sports? That's something you got to think about before. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. I hope it made you think a little bit. I did want to say one more thing. I do have all my family coaching options up on my website now. So if you are struggling at home a bit, this is my forte. I have been doing this for years. I would love to help you. I can help you create structure in your home. I can teach you some communication strategies, some great way to talk with your kids to help alleviate the arguments and the crying, and not completely, but it will help you and understand it a little better of why it's happening. I can help you develop routines in your house that are going to work for you, for your kids, for your family. And I can also help you find out what are the cause of the stressors. I can help you find out what's making it so hard in your house. These are all up on my website. I will put the website in the comments. You'll be able to see that. You can also send me a DM anytime. Basically, the options right now are a free consultation. So if you're not sure if it's something you really need, we could just talk about it for 15 to 20 minutes. And then from there, you would decide if you would want to do just like one coaching session together, kind of go over one topic or something, or you want to do like a 4-session package. And we do that in a month, like we do each week. We meet together and talk about how things are going. I would help you come up with these different plans. So just let me know. It's all up there. Next week, next Monday, I will not be doing a session because it's Labor Day. We're going to the beach and I'm excited. So I won't be doing a session, but I am doing a 3-day challenge in the group. And that will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This will be live in the group. So you won't need to do Zoom or anything. It'll just come up. You'll probably see it sometime saying Anastasia's live. So that's going to be the 3-day challenge. That's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I believe it's going to be at 10 a.m. I can't remember, but I'll post about it so you'll know. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. And always send me a DM if you have questions or anything, any tips or anything you need. We'll see you later. See you next week. Bye.